Hello, nice to see you again today. We're going to step into a story that isn't just ancient, but eternal. This one is about seeing, really seeing, and not just what's outside, but what's within. You're walking through a crowded marketplace. The sun is beating down, the smell of dust and bread in the air, the sound of coins clinking, children laughing, and camels groaning. You feel invisible, lost in the sea of noise. But then a voice calls your name. Not loudly, gently, as if it's been waiting to say it for years. You turn, and he's there, Jesus. His eyes meet yours, and in that moment, he doesn't see your clothes, your reputation, your failures. He sees you, the real you. This isn't just a moment from the Bible. This is you, right now, being known. The story of Zacchaeus isn't just about a man in a tree. It's about a heart struggling to be seen. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, feared, hated, rich, lonely. He climbed a tree like a child because he wanted something more. Not money, not power. He wanted to be seen. And Jesus didn't just see him. He stopped for him. Zacchaeus, come down. I'm staying at your house today. Can you imagine that? The Son of God looking up at you, calling your name, choosing you, without shame, without conditions. In 1941, in Nazi-occupied Poland, a prisoner named Maximilian Kolbe volunteered to die in place of a fellow prisoner. When asked why, he said, "I am a Catholic priest." That man, Franciszek Gajowniczek, survived the war. For the rest of his life, he shared Maximilian's story. Love that sees deeper, that's light in the darkest prison. Matthew 5 verse 14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." What if being seen is the beginning of healing? In Japan, there's a tradition called kintsugi. When a pot is broken, they mend it with gold, making the cracks part of its beauty. Jesus sees your cracks, and he fills them with grace. And so we begin. Please like and subscribe, only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and local time in the comments below. Inhale. Let your shoulders drop. You can turn on a fan for a little white noise, like the room is breathing with you. Now let's listen to today's story. You wake up one morning and the sky is gray. Not raining, not sunny, just in between. You stare at the ceiling for a while. Your mind feels foggy. You don't even know why. Maybe it's just one of those days. But even then, the light is still in you. Once in 18th century Germany, there was a boy who lost his entire family to illness. He lived with a priest who taught him to read by candlelight using the Psalms. Every night, the boy would rewrite one verse on a scrap of paper and hide it in his pillowcase. Years later, he became a hymn writer who penned words still sung today, not from joy, but from survival. Because light doesn't always burst forth. Sometimes it creeps in like dawn. In a rural town in Mexico, a woman who never learned to write started cooking meals for children who wandered the dirt roads without shoes. She didn't preach, she just fed. People called her abuela. Years later, a girl she fed would become a doctor and return to build a clinic in that same town. She said, "I learned Jesus had hands and they smelled like tortillas." And then there's the question of belonging. How often have you looked around a room and felt like a stranger, even among friends? Jesus understands that feeling. The Bible says he had no place to lay his head. There was a historic moment in 1955 Alabama when a woman named Rosa sat down on a bus and refused to move. Her action was silent, steady, brave, light in the darkness. Her faith was not loud, but it was rooted. And still, there are days when your light feels like a flicker. You look at your life, the routine, the struggles, the missed calls and misunderstood texts, and you think, does this matter? And then, someone smiles at you in line for coffee. Someone remembers your name. You hear a song on the radio that feels like it was written for you. These are not accidents. They are reminders. God is in the details. In the Old Testament, God appeared to Elijah not in an earthquake, nor a fire, but in a gentle whisper. Sometimes, that's all it takes. A girl in Poland once sat on a park bench writing her goodbye letter. She didn't think anyone cared. An old woman sat beside her, said nothing, and just handed her a warm cup of tea. That small act gave her a reason to go home that night. Years later, she became a social worker and started a campaign called Warm Cup. The Bible asks us, what does the Lord require of you? And the answer comes in three simple things: to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You don't have to change the world today. You just have to show up with love. And sometimes, showing up means sitting in the silence with a friend. Because being the light doesn't mean you never feel darkness. It means you carry hope anyway. You walk into a room where you don't know anyone. Your hands sweat, your heart thuds. Everyone seems to be laughing at inside jokes, dressed just right, talking without effort. You feel like you don't belong, but then someone waves you over. Hey, I saved you a seat. Their voice is warm. You sit. They see you. That moment changes everything. In 1965, during the Selma to Montgomery March, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was joined by people of all faiths, colors, and backgrounds. Among them was a young white nun who had traveled alone from New Jersey. She held a sign that said, "We are one body." No camera zoomed in on her, but God did. Jesus saw the woman at the well, a Samaritan, an outsider, a woman with a story she hid from the world. He spoke to her. He broke the rules. He knew her. "You have had 5 husbands," he said, not with scorn, but with truth and compassion. She became one of the first missionaries. She ran to her town and said, "Come meet the man who told me everything I ever did." She was seen, and she shined. Have you ever been afraid of being known? Really known? There's a legend from the Middle Ages about a leper who wandered into a church looking for mercy. The priest hesitated, but a child in the congregation stood, took the leper's hand, and sat with him. No miracle was recorded, except the miracle of being seen. You step outside and the air feels different, not because of the weather, but because of what you carry. Even if no one else sees it, you know it's there. That gentle stirring of purpose, the whisper of something holy. There's a story from the early church, a woman named Lydia, a dealer in purple cloth. She wasn't a preacher, but she opened her home. Her house became a place of prayer, a sanctuary, a beginning. Your table. In rural India, a man built a small stand next to a dusty road. Not to sell, to give. He left bottles of water for travelers, each one with a verse written in paint, "You are seen." After his death, locals built a shade hut in his honor. They called it the Station of Light. We often ask, how can I make a difference? But maybe the better question is, who can I love right now? A teacher in Romania noticed a quiet boy who never brought lunch. Without saying a word, she began packing an extra sandwich. He grew up to be a chef who now runs a free soup kitchen. Kindness is contagious, and it doesn't take much to spread. Matthew 25 says, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Every glass of water, every listening ear, every moment of grace. In the darkness of World War II, a young girl in the Netherlands hid pages of Psalms in her dollhouse walls. She couldn't fight, but she could remember. She could pray, she could hope, she lived. And years later, she donated that dollhouse to a museum. On the walls, the words still remain. God writes his stories in places no one thinks to look. In 1987, a truck driver in Brazil began leaving short devotions in public bathrooms. He signed them, "Just a Traveler." For years, people looked for him. No one found him, but his words changed lives. So, who's to say what your light can do? You may never see the impact, but it's happening. A kid in a wheelchair gives a thumbs up to every person who walks by his garden fence. He says, sometimes people just need to be noticed. Isn't that what Jesus did? He noticed. He saw the man on the side of the road, the woman with the bleeding, the little children others shooed away. He saw them. He sees you. And maybe, just maybe, you're meant to see others that way too. Not for their performance, not for their status, just for who they are. So today, as you move through whatever space you're in, school, work, home, a bus, a bench, carry that light. You don't have to shine for everyone, just for the one who needs it most. The room is dark, but not because there's no light. You just haven't turned it on yet. You stand there for a moment, hand on the switch, thinking about everything that brought you to this point. The people you loved, the people who hurt you, the days you thought you wouldn't make it. And yet, you're here. In the 3rd century, a young girl named Agnes refused to deny her faith. In a time of persecution, she chose Jesus over safety, over approval, even over life. Her light became a torch that lit generations after her. Not all courage looks like martyrdom. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed. There was a woman in Singapore who lost her son to addiction. Every day she wrote letters to God in her journal, not to ask for miracles, but to stay close. Years later, she started a ministry for grieving mothers called The Hidden Heart. Sometimes your light comes from the places you thought were broken. Luke 11:33 says, "No one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden or under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, so that those who come in may see the light." What is your stand? Is it a job, a family, a passion, or just your everyday routine done with kindness? In Russia, during the Cold War, a radio operator secretly shared Bible verses between signals. He never spoke his name. He just wanted to remind people, God is still speaking, and He is, even now, through you. A student in Canada made it her goal to smile at every person in her dorm. One day a classmate left a note on her door, "You saved my life." The smallest light still breaks the dark. You may feel ordinary, but God works best through ordinary. A grocer in Ireland posted a new prayer on the bulletin board each week. Over time, people began visiting just to read it. That store became a prayer hub, a place where faith and grocery lists met. We think church has to be a building, but sometimes it's a break room, a bus stop, a dinner table, and when you show up with love, you make it sacred. There was a man in Morocco who fixed shoes. He was quiet, never spoke. In the Bible, Jesus noticed the widow who gave 2 small coins, not because it was a large amount, but because it was everything she had. God measures differently. So when you're tired, but still listen. When you're broke, but still give. When you're hurting, but still pray for someone else. That's light. A boy in the Philippines learned to read using a tattered Bible from a missionary. He grew up to be a pastor. But more than that, he started a library. He said, "Because words saved me." Your words can save someone too. Your light can reach farther than you know. Don't hide it, let it shine. Hello everyone, today we're going to slow down together. You might be feeling burnt out, hurt, or invisible, but remember, Jesus sees the person within. So before you get too comfortable, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And drop your city and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Take a deep breath, relax your body. You can turn on a fan for a little white noise, like the room is breathing with you. Now let's listen to today's story. When we pray, truly pray, we're not just speaking into the air. We're calling out to a God who already sees us, who loves us deeply, who waits. So wherever you are, however you feel, you're not hidden. You're held. And always remember, you are the light of the world. It means you light a candle, even when the room isn't ready for it.